Okay, today we're going to talk about fiscal policy. And we're going to start by talking about our government's budget and really budget results. So after the budget is created, we end up with one of three potential budgets. The first is a balanced budget, and that's just simply when the amount of money we're bringing in, the revenue, is equal to the amount of money that we are spending, which sometimes we call the expenditures. So that would always be the goal, to have a balanced budget, but that's not always what happens. And so the other two scenarios are what happens when we don't have a balanced budget. And the first of those is a budget deficit. And by definition, a budget deficit is going to be any time where we spend more money than the government spends more money than what they bring in through taxes or revenue. And this is what happens most often with the U.S. government. We spend a lot. We don't want to increase taxes. The end result is we end up with a budget deficit. Now, it is important to know that a budget deficit is only for 1 year. And it just means that for that 1 year, we spent more money than what we brought in. Now, in this scenario that we have a budget deficit, we need to know that that leads to government borrowing. So our government's going to have to borrow money because they don't have enough to have a balanced budget. And so that borrowing is going to lead to an increase in demand in the loanable funds graph. And so that's what we put. That's just another connection that we're going to have to be able to make. And then the last result that we can have with our budget is what we call a budget surplus. And that just means that we're bringing in more money than what we're spending. That decreases our government borrowing and is going to decrease the demand for borrowing in the loanable funds graph. So those are our three, budget scenarios that we can get after that budget is created. Now, next, we're going to focus specifically on what we call fiscal policy strategies. So fiscal policy is designed to stabilize the economy. And there are two different ways that we can use fiscal policy to try to do that. The first is what we call expansionary fiscal policy. And that's our most common fiscal policy strategy. Now, typically, we're going to want to use this strategy when the economy is not doing well, so during a recession. And the goal is to give the GDP a boost. And the two tools that our government can use to give this economy a boost is they can cut taxes or they can increase government spending. And both of those tools are designed to put more money in the economy, to get people to spend more money, and therefore increase the aggregate demand, which then will help us achieve that goal of boosting the GDP. So again, expansionary fiscal policy is designed to fix an economy that is not doing well. And we use the tools of cutting taxes and increasing spending to fix that struggling economy. Our second strategy is what we call a contractionary fiscal policy. Now, this strategy is not used as often, but it's always a possibility. And this is a time we're going to use this policy strategy during a period of inflation. And the goal here is to control the growth in the economy. We don't want the economy to grow too fast. We're going to control that growth by using the contractionary fiscal policy tools, which are increasing taxes and decreasing government spending. And those two tools are then going to slow down spending in the economy and cause the aggregate demand to shift left. And therefore, we get our controlled growth. We don't have the economy growing too fast. We're hoping then to slow down any sort of inflationary problem that we have in the economy. So these fiscal policy strategies are going to be very, very important for us to know. And it's going to be important for us to know the tools that our government can use to either help boost an economy that's struggling or slow down an economy that is growing too fast.